Hi, I'm Sarah from Calc, and in this video we're going to be talking about the verbs on the AP Calc exam and what they mean. Knowing what a question is asking for and what kind of response they're looking for is key to making sure you earn the maximum amount of points possible. So, the first thing you might be asked is to estimate or approximate. So for example, they might ask you to estimate a derivative value using an average rate of change, or to approximate a definite integral using a Riemann sum or a trapezoidal approximation. Now what these verbs don't mean is to just give an educated guess or to give some kind of a ballpark answer. They are looking for a very specific approximation method, and there's only one correct answer. The next thing they might ask you to do is to interpret, and this just means that you're making sense of a value in a given context or representation. You're often going to be asked to interpret a derivative value or to interpret a definite integral. And here are the three things that you must include in your interpretation. First, you have to include units for both your independent and your dependent variable. Next, you have to refer to the context of the problem. So these are the types of questions that are going to have some kind of a real-world context, whether it's about bananas or jelly beans or grass clippings. So you want to make sure you're referring to those in your answer. Finally, you want to make sure that you're referring to the instant if you're interpreting a derivative, or the interval if you're interpreting a definite integral. Next, you might be asked to calculate or to determine or to find something, and this means you might be asked to evaluate an expression, solve an equation, or answer the question of what is the value or how many. Now for these, you want to make sure that you're still providing a setup and not just giving an answer, even if you are allowed to use your graphing calculator. So for example, if the question asked you to determine the values where f of x has an inflection point, you would want to say something about f double prime is equal to 0 and change its sign when x equals, and then give your answer. Now, this is a little bit different than this next category, which is to identify or indicate. In this category, you are asked to give information, but it doesn't require any kind of elaboration or explanation. Now, as we look at this category of verbs, we're talking about when they're asking you to defend an answer or to provide supporting evidence. So, they might ask you to explain or give a reason. This is more of an informal ask where they're asking you to give a rationale or just some kind of a reasoning for why your answer is true. You could also be asked to justify. And when you see this word, you should know that it's asking for a more formal reasoning, and that means that you need to use either some kind of a definition, like the definition of continuity or the definition of differentiability, or you might be asked to use a theorem. And remember, when you're using a theorem like the IVT or the MVT, you want to make sure that you are checking the conditions before you use the theorem. Finally, you might be asked to verify. This means that they might actually give you an answer and you have to verify that it is correct. For example, show that or verify that dy dx has this equation. You might also be asked to verify if the conditions of a theorem have been met. So these are the kinds of verbs and the kinds of things that you are often going to be asked on the AP Calc exam.